5, 4, 3, 2, 1, materialize. Hello Scorpio, welcome to your horoscope for the full moon in Virgo. This is happening on the 7th of March at 11:42 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me, and it's also the last full moon of this trip around the zodiac. If we think that Pisces culminates, Pisces is the accumulation, the release of our wheel of fortune, our trip around the zodiac, then we consider Aries to be the instigator, the initiator, the beginning of a new cycle. Not only this, but several hours after this full moon in Virgo, the planet Saturn is going to be leaving Aquarius and entering Pisces. This is an outer planet that takes 30 years to go around the zodiac. So it's to be remarked upon. Saturn hasn't been in Pisces for 30 years. And so in these final moments before Saturn leaves, there is this sort of feeling of recollection. It's kind of saying to us, what have you learned with Saturn in Aquarius over these last years, keeping in mind that Saturn entered Aquarius on the 20th of March. It brings up a lot, doesn't it? It brings up a lot of memories, and perhaps there's a bit of a feeling of going over all of the different restrictions and boundaries and changes that happened in our lives since March of 2020. Now, I don't want to trigger anyone, and I don't want to sort of drag you back there. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing our best we can to pick up and to move forward. But it does feel like that now is the time to reflect on what it is that we've learned and who it is that maybe we are now. I don't think that you'd be too reluctant to do that, Scorpio, because obviously there is that beautiful gift that you have to dredge up things that need to be looked at, you know. I like that this full moon is playing out for you in your 11th house. So Virgo rules your 11th house, Scorpio, which is where we think about community. It's where we come together. It's where we develop friendship groups, and where we kind of align ourselves with, you know, a sort of group mentality, hopefully in a positive and helpful, fruitful way. And so we release at a full moon, don't we? We either stand there and celebrate what it is that we've achieved and what it is that we've changed or worked upon in our life, in that area, or we let things shed. We let things fall away that have done their time. So in that sense, think about your friendships, think about the groups of folks that you're rolling around with right now, and think about potentially how they've changed over these past 3 years. Who needs a final goodbye? Who needs, and you don't have to do this in the physical world at all, but maybe it might be a nice moment for you to have a think about who is not with you any longer, who you can thank for their presence, thank them for what they brought to your life, and also move on. I think this feeling of Saturn moving from Aquarius into Pisces is something to really, really meditate on too. You know, this restriction is lifting. Aquarius itself is the humanitarian. Aquarius does have the collective group of us at the forefront of their mind. And so if you can think about on a global scale, this idea of restriction and rules and regulation and, a gag order in some way running through the sign of the people and entering into Pisces, entering into that sort of limitless boundlessness of emotion. For you, this is a movement from your 4th house into your 5th house. So the 4th is our home, our root system, our ancestry, and the 5th is how we express ourselves, our individual point of light, how that manifests, how we translate our perspective outward. I like this shift for you as well, Scorpio. I think that there's going to be something, I'm going to get some tarot cards, but I think that there's going to be something of, I don't know if you've been, if there's been things around home that have been quite difficult or that have felt like a very strong boundary. And this could be in conversation with your family. It could be in conversation with the folks that raised you. But I feel that this moment at this full moon, right before Saturn leaves, is also a place of meditation for us where we can think about how Saturn in Aquarius played out in our lives over these last 3 years. Right, one more. Pisces got this card too, but yours tells a very gorgeous picture right here. Look at that, the 4 of Swords. So yeah, let's have a think about that 4th house for a minute, and let's have a think about the lessons that showed themselves. Of course, if we look back to when Saturn did enter Aquarius in March of 2020, obviously there was a limitation, wasn't there? Obviously there was something about being held in place, about having to stay at home. And perhaps if the root system was unsteady for you in your 4th house, there may have been things that came up that felt and showed up like anxiety or like worry. I like this procession from this rest stop. Remember, these swords are our thoughts, our mind, and obviously that's not to discount the physical reality of what showed itself over these last years. I like this movement because look what comes next. The 2 of Cups. Now this feels like a really healing relationship. I always point to this Staff of Hermes right in the center of this card. I'm not sure if you can see, if I'm showing it properly. But the 2 of Cups does talk about coming together. It does talk about a connection. And the Staff of Hermes is the classic symbol for healing. You'll see it on a lot of hospitals and doctors' surgeries and things like that. There feels like, and I'm not sure if it's happened for you yet or it's something that you're going to be asking for, but it feels like through the swings and roundabouts, through the consistent worry, I know that the 2020s, they were supposed to be really fun, weren't they? We were all looking forward to like the roaring 20s again. Well, that's the sort of the glamorous side of recollection, isn't it? Sort of tend to gloss over the hardship. In some way, life feels like the 20s did 100 years ago. I think that what I see here is that, and look at the lighthouse too, this movement towards protection and towards a calm, safe space where you can unfurl and look at some of these possibly even unconscious, subconscious wounds. There may be things that you learned about yourself that you had this moment of like, oh, God, that's been such a difficult part of my understanding of my own life. I'm so relieved that I know this about myself now, or I'm so relieved that I had the opportunity to get this thing to the forefront and to really review it and to look at it and to heal myself. This doesn't have to maybe be somebody else. This could be you in conversation with your own self, Scorpio. This could be seeing the parts of you that have been difficult to look at and being unafraid to look at them and actually being present in their manifestation and showing up and saying to yourself, this is a part of you. This doesn't make you defective in any way. This doesn't make you a bad person. Thank goodness we know this now, because now we can move forward. Now we can do what we need to heal some of the hurt and some of the pain, the difficulty. And now we can move forward. And Pisces got this one too. The Queen of Pentacles is a really lovely image for us to hold in our back pocket at this Virgo full moon too. Virgo is an earth sign, and Virgo is malleable. They're a mutable sign, so there is something that we can settle into. I always think of clay whenever I think of Virgo and that mutable earth signification. We know that earth is practical, the earth is real. And so what I'm seeing here for you, Scorpio, is as Saturn leaves Aquarius, leaves your fourth house finally, give you a bit of a break, and enters your fifth house of expression, it feels to me like how you're going to create in this new trip around the zodiac. If we think about the new moon in Aries next fortnight as the start of something, I see that your self-expression is primed, ready to go. Hopefully the anxiety that came up around the fourth house can ease itself, can relax a little bit, because I see that you've got so much to present. You know, these could be ideas, it could be an art project. I'm not sure how it is that you express yourself, Scorpio, but it's the emphasis is on your individual perspective here. And so what lessons are bringing themselves from Aquarius into Pisces, and how can you work with that kind of like toolkit? Maybe if we look at Saturn in Pisces over these next years as a toolkit for you. Sometimes look at my studio, my painting studio, and I need to give it a jolly good birthday and go through everything, but not to throw anything out or sort of chuck it in the bin, as I often try and do, but to actually, polish the tools, clean the brushes, get everything in order. So then the act of creation can be as messy as we need it to be. We can, creative chaos is sweet and beautiful, but maybe for you to get your head around, okay, so this is my idea. This is what this is what I want to say. I'm feeling a bit cluttered. So if I give everything a bit of a spruce up, a bit of a birthday, get the vacuum out, whatever it is you need to do, whatever creative space that you have needs a reset, then I think at this full moon, as we think about the 11th house, as we think about releasing some of our I know in times like these we can really feel that there's a responsibility on our shoulders to and it's not even to try and fix things, it's to feel guilt, because we're sort of met with this idea that there's so many folks that are not feeling no guilt, that are feeling no shame, that are feeling completely blind to the crisis that other folks are in at the moment, or that other microcosms of, if we think 11th house as community, and if we kind of break it down to class systems or whatever like that, there are definitely folks in this life that can't see past the end of their own nose and can't see past their own needs and privilege in order to turn around and to assess what's going on for folks that are in trouble right now. You know, all these different things are rising, aren't they? The cost of living, there's so much that is sort of feels like it's spinning out of control. And in some ways it sort of is, because the system that we're kind of living under is not built for all of us. It's not built for the cohesion of a species to interrelate and to live happy lives. It is built for the few to accrue as much as they can. And so I can imagine, Scorpio, that all of this would be playing out for you in your, I can feel my shoulders getting a bit tight. This idea of, is it selfish of me to think that I want to express myself at this time? Is it dumb? Am I putting my efforts and my focus on something really trivial as far as self-expression? I've said this to you, but this is coming back. I said this to you 2 weeks ago, didn't I? And it's like, no, you need to forget that part of you. You need to forget that criticism or that worry or that stipulation. Saturn is entering your 5th house, which is something that you can work with. You can actually work with the integrity of Saturn and be like, well, okay, so I felt this way about myself. I felt that I need to put tools down and, you know, get a haircut and get a real job and help out in another way. But for whatever reason, yeah, this message is coming back. That's we need you to express yourself. We need you to keep that candle of creativity alive. There's going to be folks that see themselves in you. And you won't even know it, Scorpio. But that action, that happening, that moment, think about it when you've done it with somebody else, when you recognize yourself in them, in their work or in their presentation. There's that movie, Velvet Goldmine. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but Christian Bale is the teenager worshipping at Jonathan Rhys-Meyers' feet, who is sort of a version of David Bowie. He stands up in a fantasy of his and points to the television and says, that's me, you know, to his middle-aged parents. That's such a precious moment. And if there's folks that come across your work and witness it and they say to themselves, that's me, there's nothing like recognizing yourself in the other when you're feeling like an extraterrestrial, when you're feeling like a complete alien and so out of step, out of touch with community. The 11th house is treacherous terrain. We want to belong. We want to be, you know, welcomed, don't we? And it can feel really awful when we're not, or when those tides have shifted. But the individual that you are, Scorpio, is going to stand there on your own 2 trotters and be yourself, express yourself with what you've learned from Saturn's influence in Aquarius into Pisces now. And you're going to put forward something that I have very little doubt is going to be phenomenal. I've run out of sand, so we have to leave it there. But I hope that, I know that we're sort of talking about stuff that we were talking about 2 weeks ago, but let's face it, our lives don't sort of, it's not a new focus every 2 weeks as much as, we've got all these houses to attend to, but the sun's still in Pisces. The sun is still in your creative zone, Scorpio. Saturn is going to be entering there. So get in the rehearsal room, scrub up, pop your mascara on, and start creating. I love you. Head to umaruby.com and get your birth chart read by me. I would love to meet you if I haven't met you already. You can also tip me at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. I'll be speaking to you in 2 weeks for the new moon in Aries. So this is going to be a continuation of this changing of the guard, changing of the era. So Saturn in Pisces is the first cab off the rank. We've got more to come, but I'll be here and I'll be talking you through it. Take care, Scorpio. What you have to say is worth it. I guarantee you. Bye.